I watched through the rain-streaked window as Mirabel Jackson stepped out of the black SUV carrying a single white rose. She was here. After everything, after the arrest, the humiliation, the 6 months of silence, she was standing at my daughter's grave. My hands clenched into fists. She had no right to be here in this sacred place pretending she cared. This was the woman who'd destroyed my life over a dented fender, the woman who'd looked at me like I was nothing, the woman I'd somehow fallen in love with, and the woman who was about to learn a truth that would shatter both of us. Because what Mirabel didn't know, what nobody knew, was that the accident that brought us together wasn't an accident at all. I'd been following her for 3 weeks, and now she was about to find out why. If you love stories about secrets, redemption, and love that defies all logic, hit that subscribe button right now. This story is going to take you places you never expected. Trust me. Now, let's go back to where it all started. 3 months earlier, I was barely surviving. Michael Dawson, 42 years old, taxi driver for 19 years, widower for 6 months. My wife Lisa died of cancer on a Tuesday. By Friday, the medical bills had swallowed our savings, our house, everything. I was living in my taxi, showering at the gym, eating 1 meal a day. But I was still standing, still driving, still moving forward, because that's what Misa would have wanted. Then came the letter from Cordova and Associates. Dear Mr. Dawson, this is to inform you that the property at 428 Maple Street has been acquired by Jackson Development Corporation. You have 30 days to vacate. I read it 3 times before it sank in. They were taking our home, the home where Lisa and I raised our daughter Sophie, where Sophie took her first steps, where we celebrated 17 Christmases, where Lisa took her last breath. It was already gone, sold to pay medical debt, but the new owner was evicting the family renting it, and that name, Jackson Development Corporation, burned itself into my brain. Mirabel Jackson. I'd seen her face on billboards across the city, revitalizing communities. What a joke. She was gentrifying neighborhoods, pricing out families like mine, calling it progress. I spent 2 weeks watching her, learning her routes, her schedule, her patterns, the silver Bentley Continental GT, always driving herself, no security, too proud or too foolish. And on that rainy Tuesday afternoon, I made my choice. I followed her Bentley onto Jefferson Boulevard, waited for the traffic light, waited for the rain to get heavier, and when the moment was right, I pressed the accelerator and slammed my taxi into her passenger side. Not hard enough to hurt her, just hard enough to destroy her perfect day the way she destroyed my life. The crash was everything I'd imagined. Metal screaming, glass shattering, the look of shock on her face as she stepped out into the rain. What I didn't imagine was what would happen next. She was even more beautiful up close. Mid-30s, with dark hair plastered to her face by the rain, designer clothes already ruined, but her eyes were what stopped me. They weren't angry, they were afraid. Are you hurt? Those were her first words, not yelling, not cursing. Sir, are you injured? I stumbled out of my taxi, playing the part. I'm fine, I'm so sorry, the rain. It's okay, accidents happen. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling 911. You might have whiplash. We should get you checked. No, I said it too fast, too sharp. No hospitals. I'm fine, really. She studied me, and I saw her taking in my worn clothes, my exhausted face, my taxi with the broken headlight and rust spots. I saw the exact moment pity replaced fear in her eyes. I hated her for it. At least let me call the police, she said gently, for the insurance report. And that's when her business partner arrived, a sharp-dressed man named Richard Vance who'd been following in another car. Mirabel, what the hell happened? He looked at my taxi, then at me, and his expression curdled. This idiot crashed into you? Mirabel, it was an accident. An accident? Look at his cab. He's probably uninsured, probably unlicensed. Mirabel, you can't let people like this get away with destroying your property. People like this? I stepped forward. What exactly does that mean? Mirabel, stop. But he was already on his phone. I'm calling our lawyers and the police. This man needs to be held accountable. I watched Mirabel's face change, watched her walls go up, watched her transform from the concerned woman who'd asked if I was hurt into something harder, colder. You're right, she said quietly. Call them. And just like that, I went from hunter to prey. They arrested me at the scene. Reckless driving, property damage, driving with an expired commercial license, something I hadn't even realized had lapsed. As they put me in handcuffs, I looked back at Mirabel. She was standing under Richard's umbrella, her arms wrapped around herself, watching them take me away. Our eyes met for just a second, and I could have sworn I saw regret there. But then the police car door slammed shut and she was gone. I spent 4 days in jail, 4 days in a 6x8 cell with a toilet that didn't flush properly and a cellmate who snored like a chainsaw. 4 days to think about what I'd done, what I'd become. I'd wanted revenge, wanted to hurt Mirabel Jackson the way she'd hurt me. But sitting in that cell, I realized the truth. She had no idea who I was. No idea she'd taken my home. She was just a name on a corporate letterhead, insulated from the consequences of her actions by lawyers and accountants and people like Richard. She probably destroyed dozens of lives and never knew their names. On the 4th day, a guard came to my cell. "Dawson, you made bail." I stared at him. "What? I don't have anyone." "Someone posted it. You're free to go." I walked out into the lobby in disbelief. And there she was. Mirabel Jackson, in jeans and a simple blue sweater, her hair in a ponytail, no makeup, looking nothing like the billboard queen. She stood up when she saw me. "Mr. Dawson." "You? Why?" "Because I couldn't sleep." Her voice was soft. "I kept seeing your face, kept thinking about how scared you looked, and Richard told me about your situation, the expired license, the medical debt, your wife." Shame burned through me. "You investigated me." "I wanted to understand, and when I did," she took a breath, "I realized I'd made everything worse. You were struggling and I added to it, so I posted bail, paid your fines, and I'd like to help more if you'll let me." This wasn't the plan. She was supposed to be a monster, supposed to be easy to hate. "I don't want your charity," I said. "It's not charity, it's responsibility. My company bought your home. I didn't know, but that's not an excuse. I should know. So please, let me make this right." I should have walked away, should have stuck to my anger, my revenge plot, my righteous fury. But I was so tired, and she was looking at me with such genuine remorse. "How?" I asked. Mirabel's solution was unexpected. She hired me. Not as a taxi driver, as her personal driver. "I hate driving myself," she explained over coffee the next day. "I only do it because I don't trust most people. But you, I don't know why, but I trust you." The irony was almost too much. "Why would you trust someone who crashed into your car?" "Because you didn't run, didn't lie, didn't try to blame me." She smiled sadly. "You'd be surprised how rare that is in my world." The job paid 3 times what I made driving taxi. Health insurance, an apartment above her garage, it was everything I needed. It was also perfect for revenge. Access to her life, her schedule, her vulnerabilities. I could take my time, find the perfect way to destroy her like she'd destroyed me. I took the job. The first week was awkward. I'd drive her to meetings, to site inspections, to dinners with investors. She'd sit in the back, working on her laptop, occasionally taking calls. Professional, distant. But sometimes, late at night when I drove her home from 18-hour workdays, she'd talk. "Do you ever feel like you're running on a treadmill, working harder and harder but never actually getting anywhere meaningful?" "Every day," I answered honestly. I thought this, the company, the success, would make me happy, would make my father proud. She laughed bitterly. "He died thinking I was wasting my potential. Guess I'm still trying to prove him wrong." I wanted to hate her, needed to hate her, but she was making it very difficult. The break came during the 3rd week. I was driving her to a city council meeting about a new development project when protesters blocked the street. Dozens of people with signs, "Homes, not condos. Jackson destroys communities. People over profit." Mirabel stared out the window, her face pale. "We should go around," I said. "No, stop the car." "Miss Jackson." "Stop the car, Michael." I pulled over, and before I could stop her, she got out and walked towards the protesters. I jumped out after her. "What are you doing?" She didn't answer, just walked straight to a woman holding a sign, a grandmother who looked about 70. "I'm Mirabel Jackson. Tell me what I did to you." What happened next changed everything. The grandmother, her name was Rosa Martinez, told Mirabel about the apartment building Jackson Development had purchased, how they'd raised rents by 60%, how Rosa's daughter, a single mother of 3, couldn't afford it anymore and had to move 2 hours away, putting the grandkids in new schools, away from Rosa. "You took my family," Rosa said simply. "For what? So rich people can have luxury condos?" Mirabel listened to Rosa, then to others, a teacher, a mechanic, a nurse. Story after story of displacement, of communities torn apart, of lives disrupted. I watched her face crumble. "I didn't know," she whispered. I never asked. I just looked at spreadsheets and profit margins and—" She turned to me, tears streaming down her face. "Michael, I didn't know." And right then, standing in a street blocked by protesters, watching this powerful woman break down, I realized something terrible. My revenge was working, but I didn't want it anymore. After that day, Mirabel changed. She started attending community meetings, visiting the properties her company owned, talking to tenants. And she started asking me to come with her, not as a driver, but as someone who understood what it was like to lose everything. "You see things I miss," she said. "You help me understand." We spent long evenings in her office, reviewing development plans, finding ways to include affordable housing, to preserve communities instead of displacing them. Her board hated it. Richard called it financial suicide, but Mirabel didn't care. "What's the point of success if you're destroying lives to achieve it?" she said. And somewhere in those late nights, somewhere between the arguments and the laughter and the shared takeout dinners, I fell in love with her. It happened slowly, then all at once. The way she'd unconsciously tuck her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating, her terrible jokes, how she cried during a documentary about penguins, the way she remembered everyone's name, the janitor, the intern, the security guard. She wasn't the monster I'd imagined. She was human, flawed and trying and beautiful. And I was living a lie. It all came crashing down on a Wednesday. I was cleaning the car when I found it, an old photo that had slipped under the seat. Lisa and Sophie at the beach, smiling. On the back, in Lisa's handwriting, 428 Maple Street, our forever home. I was staring at it when Mirabel came to the garage. "Michael, we need to leave for the—" She stopped. "What's wrong?" I couldn't speak, just handed her the photo. She looked at it, confused, then turned it over and read the address. I watched her face change as she made the connection. This was your home, the one my company bought?" "Yes." "The eviction notice, that was your family, your—" She looked at the photo again. "Is this your daughter?" "Sophie. She died 2 years before Lisa. Leukemia." Mirabel sank into a chair, still holding the photo. "Michael, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "You never know. That's the problem, isn't it? You make decisions in boardrooms and never think about the real people affected. You took the place where my daughter grew up, where she died, where my wife and I said goodbye to her. You took that and you were going to bulldoze it for condos?" "I didn't." "You did. You and people like you making profit off other people's pain." I was shouting now, months of grief and rage pouring out. "Do you have any idea what it's like to lose everything, to watch your child die, to bury your wife, and then have some billionaire take the only thing you have left?" She was crying. "Michael, please." "The accident wasn't an accident, Mirabel. I crashed into you on purpose. I wanted to hurt you. I wanted revenge." The silence that followed was deafening. Mirabel stood up slowly, the photo still in her hands. You planned it?" "Yes." "Everything? Getting close to me? Working for me?" "At first, yes. I wanted to destroy you the way you destroyed me." "And now?" Her voice was barely a whisper. Now, I don't know what I want, because you're not who I thought you were, and I couldn't finish. She carefully placed the photo on the workbench and walked to the door. Stopped, turned back. The house on Maple Street. We haven't started demolition yet. The family renting it moved out last week. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm going to give it back to you. She wiped her eyes. I'll transfer the deed, free and clear. You can live there or sell it or burn it down, whatever you need. Mirabel. And I'm going to resign from Jackson Development, hand it over to Richard or whoever. I can't. She took a shaky breath. I can't keep doing this, hurting people, even accidentally, especially accidentally. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do, because you were right about all of it. She looked at me with those devastating eyes. I'm sorry, Michael, for your daughter, for your wife, for your home, for being so blind to the damage I was causing. She started to leave. I love you, I said. She stopped. I know I have no right to. I know I lied and manipulated you and planned to hurt you, but somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you, and I'm sorry for everything. Mirabel turned around slowly. Did you mean any of it? The conversations, the late nights, the time you told me about Sophie and how she loved butterflies? Every word. That was real. That was the most real I've been since Lisa died. She nodded slowly. I believe you, and that's what makes this so hard. What do you mean? I love you too, Michael. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I fell in love with your honesty, your integrity, the way you cared about people. But it was all built on a lie, wasn't it? On revenge and manipulation. Mirabel, please. I can forgive you for the accident, for wanting to hurt me. I probably deserved it. She picked up the photo again, looking at Sophie's smiling face. But I can't build a life with someone who doesn't trust me, who sees me as the enemy, who crashes into my car instead of just talking to me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Then prove it. She set the photo down and walked to me, taking my hands. Take the house. Take a month. Figure out who you are when you're not drowning in grief and rage. And if you still love me, if you can love me as a person instead of as a symbol of everything you've lost, then come find me. And if you love me, she kissed me, soft and sad and tasting like salt, then I'll be waiting. I moved back into 428 Maple Street 3 days later. The house was exactly as I remembered. The kitchen where Lisa taught Sophie to bake cookies, the living room where we'd watch movies every Friday, Sophie's bedroom with the butterfly wallpaper she'd picked out when she was 5. I spent the first week just sitting in the rooms, remembering, crying, letting myself feel everything I'd been running from for 6 months. But then something strange happened. I started cleaning, fixing the loose banister, repainting the fence, planting flowers in the garden, butterflies, Sophie's favorites, the ones Lisa always said attracted monarchs. And slowly, I realized something. This house wasn't a shrine to my grief. It was a home, a place where love had lived, where it could live again. On the 28th day, I found the letter. It was tucked inside Sophie's favorite book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. In handwriting I recognized instantly. Lisa's. My dearest Michael, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I know you're drowning in grief, blaming yourself, wondering how to go on. Here's what I need you to know. You gave me the most beautiful life. You gave Sophie the most beautiful life. Don't let our deaths be the end of your story. Love again, Michael. Live again. Not because you've forgotten us, but because you remember what we taught you. That love is worth every moment of pain. That opening your heart is always the right choice, even when it breaks. Promise me you'll try. Promise me you won't let fear win. All my love,
Always and forever, Lisa. P.S. The butterfly garden was always your idea. I think you should finish it. I read it 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Then I went to the garage, found the seeds Lisa had bought years ago, and started digging.
On the 30th day, I drove to Mirabel's office. She wasn't there. Her assistant said she'd resigned 2 weeks ago, handed the company over to the board, and disappeared. No one knew where she'd gone. I tried her home. The mansion was being sold. I tried calling. No answer. For 3 days, I searched, asked everyone who might know. Nothing. And then, on a Wednesday afternoon, I saw her at the cemetery, standing at Sophie's grave, placing a single white rose on the headstone. I walked slowly across the grass, my heart pounding. She didn't turn around, but I knew she heard me. "I visit every week," she said quietly. "I hope that's okay. I know I never met her, but I wanted to know her. So I've been reading to her, the books you told me about, bringing flowers." I stood beside her, looking at the small granite stone. Sophie Marie Dawson, beloved daughter, forever in our hearts. "Why?" I asked. "Because she mattered. Because you loved her. Because—" Mirabel finally looked at me, and I saw she'd been crying. "Because I needed to understand what I'd taken from you, really understand it." "You didn't take Sophie. Cancer did." "No, but I took the home where she lived, where she was loved, where her memory lived." She wiped her eyes. "I've spent the last month visiting every property my company displaced people from, talking to families, listening to their stories, trying to, I don't know, bear witness, take responsibility. Mirabel, I'm setting up a foundation, all my personal wealth, for people affected by corporate displacement. It won't fix what I did, but maybe it can help." I took her hand. She didn't pull away. Lisa left me a letter. She told me to love again, to not let fear win. That's beautiful. I've been afraid of trusting you, of believing this could work, of losing someone else I love. I turned to face her fully. "But I'm done being afraid. You were right. I should have talked to you instead of crashing into your car, should have trusted you with the truth, and I'm sorry." Mirabel, I love you, Mirabel Jackson, not as a symbol, not as revenge, not as anything except the woman who cries at penguin documentaries and remembers everyone's name and is trying so hard to be better. I pulled a small velvet box from my pocket. "And I'd like to spend the rest of my life proving that I trust you, if you'll have me." She stared at the ring, a simple gold band with a small diamond, nothing like what she could afford, but chosen with every bit of love I had. You're proposing? After everything?" "After everything, because of everything." I knelt on the grass beside my daughter's grave. "Mirabel, will you marry me?" She fell to her knees, crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes, yes, yes, yes!" I slipped the ring on her finger, and we stayed there, kneeling in the grass, holding each other while the sun set over the cemetery. "I have something to tell you," Mirabel whispered, "about the house." "What about it?" "I didn't just give it back to you. I bought back 5 other properties on that street. The Martinez family's apartment building, Mrs. Chen's bakery, the community center." She looked at me with shining eyes. "I thought maybe we could restore the whole neighborhood, together. Make it what it used to be, what it should have been." I kissed her, tasting salt and joy and promise. "Together," I agreed. The butterfly garden was in full bloom. I stood in the backyard of 428 Maple Street, watching monarchs dance among the flowers while laughter drifted from the house behind me. Mirabel was in the kitchen with Rosa Martinez and her daughter, teaching them how to make Lisa's famous chocolate chip cookies. The recipe was Sophie's favorite, and somehow it felt right to share it, to let it bring joy to a new generation. The house wasn't a shrine anymore. It was alive again, full of friends and neighbors, of community gatherings and potluck dinners. The whole street was transformed, families moving back, businesses reopening, children playing in yards that had sat empty. We got married in the garden 3 months ago, surrounded by butterflies and the people whose lives we'd fought to restore. No fancy venue, no society pages, just love and second chances, and the miracle of 2 broken people choosing to heal together. "Michael!" Mirabel called from the kitchen window. "Come inside. Rosa wants to show you her granddaughter's drawing." I started toward the house, then stopped. Standing at Sophie's favorite spot under the oak tree was a woman I'd never seen before. Mid-20s, with kind eyes, holding a small child. "Can I help you?" I asked. She smiled nervously. "Are you Michael Dawson?" "Yes." "I'm Emma Richards. My mother was Lisa Dawson's sister." The world tilted. I didn't know Lisa had a sister. "We were estranged, family drama, stupid reasons." She shifted the child on her hip. "But I heard about her passing, and I heard you live here now, and I—" Tears filled her eyes. "I have something for you, from before the estrangement, before everything." She handed me an envelope, old, yellowed, addressed to me in handwriting I didn't recognize. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter and a photograph. The photograph showed 2 little girls, maybe 6 and 8 years old, grinning at the camera. I recognized Lisa immediately. The other girl must have been Emma's mother. And standing between them, holding their hands, was a teenage girl with dark hair and bright eyes. The letter was in a child's handwriting. "Dear future me, today I met the most amazing girl at summer camp. Her name is Mirabel. She's my new best friend. We promised to write to each other forever and ever. I hope I keep that promise. Love, Lisa, age 8. My hands went numb. I don't understand," I whispered. Emma looked confused. "Understand what?" "The girl in the photo, Mirabel. What was her last name?" "Oh, I don't remember. Mom never talked about her. They lost touch when—" She trailed off. "Is everything okay?" I ran into the house, the photo clutched in my hand. Mirabel was laughing with Rosa, flower on her nose, radiant and beautiful. "Mirabel!" She turned, her smile fading when she saw my face. "What's wrong?" I showed her the photograph. I watched her face change, watched her eyes widen, watched her hand fly to her mouth. That's me, from camp, when I was 13. She looked up at me in shock. "Who gave you this?" "Lisa's niece." "Mirabel, did you know? Did you know Lisa was my wife?" "No, I didn't even know her last name back then. We were just kids. We wrote letters for a year and then lost touch." She grabbed my arm. "Michael, I swear, I had no idea. The house, the accident, none of it. I didn't make the connection." We stood there, staring at each other, the impossible truth settling over us like snow. "All this time," I whispered. "The accident, the arrest, the revenge plot, falling in love, and we were connected all along. You knew Lisa. You were her best friend." "Lisa used to write me about butterflies, about how she was going to marry a kind man and have a daughter and plant a butterfly garden. I thought they were just childhood dreams." "They weren't dreams. They were prophecies." "What does this mean?" she asked. I pulled her close, the photograph pressed between us, Lisa and Mirabel's younger selves smiling up at us from 30 years ago. "It means Lisa was right. Love is worth every moment of pain." And sometimes, I kissed her forehead, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes the people we're meant to love find us, even when we're too broken to see it, even when we're crashing cars and plotting revenge. Mirabel laughed through her tears. "You think Lisa brought us together? I think love brought us together in all its messy, complicated, impossible glory." Outside, the butterflies danced in the fading light, and somewhere, I liked to imagine, Lisa and Sophie were smiling. Because this wasn't just a love story. It was a love story that started 30 years ago with two little girls at summer camp and continued through grief and anger and second chances and would keep going forever in a butterfly garden on Maple Street, where broken things came to heal, where love always found a way, where two souls shattered by loss chose each other again and again and again. And that, after all, is the only revenge worth taking against a cruel world. To love it anyway. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share. And remember, the people who hurt us are often fighting battles we know nothing about. The accidents that change our lives are sometimes the universe's way of giving us exactly what we need. And love, real, transformative love, is always worth the risk of a broken heart. Because in the end, we're all just crashing into each other, hoping to find someone who makes the collision worth it.